and welcome. This is Chinmayee Abbey, your host for this episode of Exploring Life with God. As you know by now, I'm an internationally certified career coach running my company called Change Your Story. We are celebrating completion of 10 years now. And I want to thank you. Thank you so very much for all your love that you've been expressing so generously on these episodes, on the series that we're doing, Exploring Life with God. I want to share with you and let you know that I read each and every comment and try to respond personally. And thank you so much once again. So, what is this series all about? Well, Exploring Life with God, as the name suggests, is about exploring life with God. And not the God that I and you have known for all these years, but the God that I have been fortunate enough, blessed enough to have met and have created that connection with, established that connection with. It's been 2 years now that I have been on this journey. So in this series, basically I invite people just like me who have been with God, who have been able to nurture this connection with God, who talk to God day in, day out, communicate, and mind you, it's a two-way communication. Interesting, right? So on that note, without further ado, let me invite my guest today, who's a friend, a dear friend. She's called Shivani Gala. So Shivani is a content strategist and a digital marketer with over 12 years of experience in elevating personal and professional branding. A former journalist with a passion for solo travel, Shivani specializes in creating strategies that boost traffic and enhance brand recall through social media, SEO, and LinkedIn personal branding. Her unique blend of advertising insights and digital expertise has led to several successful campaigns. She's worked with the top clients like Cleartrip, Bosch India, Hamleys, creating content that aligns with brand positioning and drives results. Whether it's online marketing, strategy, content creation, or LinkedIn personal branding, Shivani offers tailored solutions to help your brand succeed. And it's my honor and privilege to invite Shivani Gala. Hi, Shivani.
Hey Chinmayee,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and so am I. And I'm super excited to talk to you. And I was just sharing that, this has been an incredible journey for people like me and you. And this is an opportunity for us to talk about God. And I would love for you to share about your journey of having met God, having been with God. It's been what? How long have you been on this path?
I attended my first workshop with Pradeep sir in November 21, so I'll complete 3 years in few
Wow.
months.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
And with me, sometimes what happens is that I actually have sort of forgotten how was life like before having met God. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, it feels like it was another lifetime or it was a life that somebody else lived.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
when you asked the fact that when I was going back, oh, that was my first workshop, it feels like, oh, that was definitely many lifetimes ago.
I
Yet
totally
there
get
are
that.
many things which are very similar. I mean, people who've known me from before and if they see now, so many things have not changed in a way, and yet my internal experiences, it's so deep.
Absolutely. Why don't you share a little bit about you, Shivani, your journey so far?
So I come from a small middle class family in Mumbai, and mom, brother, father. So I studied normal school, did my grads, post grad in distance learning, MA. I did bachelor's in mass media, worked full time jobs, journalist, then digital marketing. I lost somebody very close in my life, very young, not very young, like when I was 20, 21. But that death really shook me. People die, you've grown up listening to all of that, but that one really shook me. And I started asking around, like the elders and all of it, that why did he have to go so soon? And then you get all introduced to all these concepts of karma and life after death and all of it. So I started looking for answers about it on the sidelines. And being born in a giant family, that is what I first turned to. And I discovered that this was too slow. There were too many rules. It was not satiating. Then introduced to meditation, went to some retreats, um, got some answers. Again, it felt like ye to kahin ja nahi raha. Then somebody said you should have a living master. So then living masters came. It was very beautiful for a time. Again, the incompletion was still there, and I sort of started getting very frustrated because by then I had worked full time. I had left. I had a very strong clarity one day that now no more jobs. I have to be on my own. So I started freelancing. I would solo travel. I traveled Rishikesh, Thiru, also worked and all of it together. Did a lot of seva with spiritual communities and stuff. But when I would have those moments, like when you reflect back that why are you doing what you're doing? I would always have that emptiness, like complete nahi hua hai, kuch to abhi baki hai. And it felt like not just from this life, it's like बहुत लंबे अरसे से कुछ बाकी है. You could not explain it to anyone. And I discovered that most humans feel that. And then during COVID, I went through a low phase and depression and this and all of that. And some life just didn't make sense. I mean, my life was okay. There was nothing really wrong. Like I had not lost anything, but it just didn't feel okay. And in year and a half, I came to I started decluttering my life, like even spiritually and um, religion wise, people wise, work wise. Just I'm like, okay, like what's important? Let's just keep that. And yet there was this voice that would start coming for a month or so कि अब घर जाना, अब थक गए, अब घर जाना. And in few weeks, my friend introduced me to God's workshop. He sent me a message. Back then, there was no Facebook page or nothing. It was just a WhatsApp message. And
So three
one
years
of the
ago, you
lines,
said.
sorry,
3 years ago. You said this was 3 years ago.
this is 3 years ago, yeah. And there was a line, soul going back home. And when I read that, I was like, huh. Something in me responded. A part of me that was decluttering from the all spiritual stuff felt कि नहीं यार ये एक और कुछ है. But the soul going back home, that home thing was like, nahi, what if this is
To
really
you.
the thing? I don't want to miss it. So that journey led me to my first workshop. Even that, I feel like God raised me and picked me up because I was in Tiruvannamalai, from there to Chennai, going through some health issues and all of it. It was another journey. But I remember the first time I walked into the workshop field, and Pradeep sir was standing there. He was like, I still remember, he's like a short, cute man, like the most simplest, the most sweetest. And just walking in that room, I felt like home. I could, and for me, it was very new. So I remember avoiding his gaze and just wanting to sit down on a chair because it resonated, it completed, and yet it was like, what is going on? But that for me somehow was like, and after that, it's been just like for the mind and body to get used to, okay, this is it. So that is how I came to God and my journey so far in short.
So आपने घाट घाट का पानी पिया, right, as they say in spiritual world. And I so relate with that because I tried so many things, right from religion to meditation to having had some out of body experiences and whatnot. And like Pradeep sir says that, okay, so what? Like you have a great meal in a restaurant, you enjoy it, and then what, right? And we would make these things so important as if, we're just there. We are just, as if just the next step is on, right there. But then it's a total silence, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Shivani, 3 years is a very long time. And, if I have to ask you in a simple manner, how do you define your life before coming to God and, having been with God now after meeting God last 3 years?
I would just say I'm at more rest than before. Um, It's not like magically things have changed or anything, and yet there are so many magical things that have happened.
Hmm.
Um, I'm someone who is emotionally, let's say, I have a very sensitive. So say something that triggers other person only like to a later extent, for me it may trigger faster. And before I came to God, I went through, like I was saying, I went through a very dark phase. And especially in the year I came, actually came to God से ज़्यादा God लेके आए. So when God brought me to Him, I had lost my dad, and he was one of the biggest attachment I had. And also the way everything happened, I was just not in a good space. Um, and it was culmination of in my entire. I used to feel even then it was culmination of my entire life that was happening at that point. So coming to God was like a rest. Like I said, a rest of a life, many lifetimes that you were looking for sort of came there. And practically speaking, how my life started changing is there are many things in my life that don't bother me. Now I'm like, ठीक है हो जाएगा, ठीक है चल जाएगा. Because one of the beautiful things, like when you were introducing, you said that there is a two-way communication with God and
Yeah.
everything. It is so alive that
Yeah.
that really was something which is so different. Like we've been the entire concept of God, whether it's inside, outside, you are God and all of that we had before we came here. But experiencing that aliveness of God, that He is with you, you can communicate, and he can be strict, he can be loving, he can be kind, he can step back, if something is not okay, and he can absolutely be with you even when you're at your worst. You could be doing something really random and stupid, and he's not leaving you. So you mentioned that 3 years is a long time to be with God. I feel it's not in me. It's His grace. He's held on to me, and I told that to him in the first workshop कि मुझसे तो नहीं हो पाएगा. The way I am, I'm not even stuck to my longest job was 2 years. Um, I like when
Wow.
I'm traveling, so I just book some tickets. I don't know where I'm going to go next. So for many, it would be like, yeah, kya hai ye bandi? She's not clear and planning. But
Right.
that's how I am.
That's how it is. That's how it is. I think we just
Yeah,
stop there, That's how it is because you there are things you cannot explain, Shivani, isn't it? And this is one of those things in life. And just wanted to, I just got a thought just passed my mind for people who are watching us and watching this conversation. We've been talking about talking to God and receiving answers. For somebody who's watching and saying, "Ye kya pagalpandi?" How does that happen? Uh, how would you know? What do you tell them when they say, "How do you know this is God and this is not your mind playing games or you're hallucinating?" What do you say to them?
I say कि बात करना शुरू करना. Because that's what I did. Like I would just tell them very simple what Pradeep sir said once, कि you just start talking.
Talking.
And in talking to God, tell him also, make him responsible कि you make sure कि I understand what you are talking and what others are not talking. And in that
Hmm.
journey, automatically things will start becoming okay. And even at times when the answers are not coming from God, you do something, you will see God's hand will step in. I have done
Hmm.
some very kind of things where, just say mind took over. I got confused. I was not sure. And I've seen in those situations, after a bit, God just steps in. So if anybody who's like, ये क्या बात कर रहे हैं? God कौन है? कैसे बात करेंगे? उससे कैसे होगा? मुझे कैसे पता चलेगा? आपको 100% कभी नहीं पता चलेगा. एंड येट आपको ये एक एहसास आता जाएगा, एक क्लैरिटी आती जाएगी कि गॉड है और आपसे
God
बात
hai.
करे, और आपको समझ भी आता जाएगा उन्हीं की ग्रेस से. उनको ही बोल दो भैया आप मुझे समझा दो.
Wow. How simply and beautifully you put it, Shivani. Thanks for that. Uh, do you remember during the workshop where it comes a time when you have to make that choice, right? Do you remember, can go back in time and share what made you choose God? Of course, you shared your journey before coming to God and the dark phase that you were going through, but when that moment happens, at least with me, I know I did not come from a place of, now I have been at an XYZ place, and so now let me travel to somewhere else. there is something which happens in that moment. Would you like to share how was it for you?
For me, when I first entered, I told you that experience, like I'm home,
Yes, yes.
that was wordlessly changed something in me.
Mm,
Then, when I was in the workshop, on day two, a participant, an old participant, I love her very dearly because she really helped me and took me through this journey, especially because I was in a very delicate space at that time. She told me about choosing, and I remember looking at her and I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And for me, it was very natural. Actually, in fact, a part of me was so relaxed and so happy that I can finally get to choose this and let go of all everything else.
everything
Like,
else. Yeah, yeah. It was a liberation.
yeah, absolutely. It's extremely liberating. In fact, I remember going back to my place of stay after the workshop, and on the way, I was very happily letting go of whatever I was having, the pictures, the dhagas, and all of it. It was like, even physically, it was like
Yeah,
decluttering and liberating. So, yeah, for me, it
totally.
was the choosing God was just
Yeah.
purely by His grace, pure liberation and relaxation.
And, for me also, it was a liberation from the expectations, like when you attach yourself with any work, any religious sect or any specific practice, and you keep doing it endlessly, hoping that someday you will arrive, which never happens actually. So, feeling so light and liberated from all of those expectations and just happy that, that being home actually, there's nothing better to explain that feeling that you actually are just home, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, I think you already answered that, what has made you stick with God for so long. And you said it very profoundly that it's not me, but actually God choosing me. And I'm so amazed that this specific sentence keeps coming up every time in these conversations, because I think at some point it is really profound and true that, who are we to choose God? Even for us to choose and accept and, live with God and talk to Him day in, day out, you definitely can't do it without His grace, right?
Not without His grace. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And we,
what is,
in
yeah,
our part, we have to just keep saying, "Ki God, only you." Rest He has to do.
yeah. So, on that note, Shivani, it brings us to the end of this amazing conversation. Before I let you go, what is the message you want to give to people who are seeking God?
Actually, I just don't want to give a message to people who are seeking God. I want to give a message to every human that हम सब कभी कहीं ना कहीं थक गए. We are all tired of just being human. I was in the school and they had one prayer. माणसानी माणसांची माणसासारखे वागणे. Like they said that we have only one prayer, that a human should behave like a human with another human. We don't want anything else. Like we free us from all other burdens.
Hmm.
And God that Pradeep ji has introduced us to, the kind of journey he went through, and the clarity he brings, the simplicity he brings, is that God that can free us from all and actually make us humans again. And that really just means to ease our negativity that binds us down, weighs us down. So my message would be, for 30 days, try and become friends with God through Pradeep Mukherji. He has a book, he has a healing
Yeah,
card. The one,
this is the
yeah,
book.
yeah. And don't read the book. He has a healing card as well. Just talk to it for 30 days about whatever you're struggling with, or look at it. If you're not struggling with anything today, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just experience living with this God for 30 days and see what happens.
So, what you're saying is that this is actually not a book, but this is actually live God, right? So, the first introduction for people could be just picking up this book and talking to the picture, right?
Absolutely. Because it's alive, like you mentioned. It's an alive book.
Yeah,
And it's probably the only book that even the author himself says, don't read it.
don't
Feel
read
it. Be with
it.
it. In fact,
Yeah.
little kids, they even hug the book, they kiss the book, they kiss the card, and you will be surprised at what your life could be like. Nothing will change, yet a lot will change, like Pradeep says.
Wow. By the way, I sleep with this book. under my pillow every night. Yeah, and I just don't know what to say. Thank you so much, Shivani. It's been a profound conversation. Thank you so much. It's been delightful and to have you over. Thank you so much for coming, for sharing about your life so openly, and thank you, God, for bringing us together, for letting us do this, for His grace. And I just wish for everybody listening to this conversation or watching us, may you have God's grace. Thank you so much. Anything else, Shivani? Any last words?
Thank you so much, Chinmayee, for doing this and being patient with me while we came together for this. And I'm absolutely grateful for all that you're sharing.
Thank
And
you.
thanks to God for bringing us together.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care. Goodbye for now. For everybody else, go ahead, pick up this book and just get a taste of what we've been talking last 30 minutes, 35 minutes or so. Okay, and keep watching, exploring life with God. Until next time, I will see you with the next guest. Until next time, take care of yourself. Goodbye and goodbye.